Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to SS Virtual Medicos. First and foremost, thank you for your support and guidance. This is Santo Matthew here. Just a brief introduction. This platform is coordinated by me and my companion Stephen. We are fifth year medical students of Kyiv Medical University. So, we would like to discuss the topics which we come across. Today, we will discuss with regard to jaundice. We will talk about the definition, bilirubin metabolism, which is important in understanding the jaundice, types or the classification of jaundice, and finally, we will talk about the main genetic defects leading to jaundice. So, jaundice is the yellow discoloration of skin, sclera, and the mucous membrane due to the deposition of bilirubin. So, for understanding jaundice, we should know more about bilirubin. Normally in plasma, 0.2 to 1 milligram per deciliter of bilirubin is present. Okay, if it is greater than 1 milligram per deciliter, that means if the bilirubin concentration in the plasma is greater than 1 milligram per deciliter, it is known as hyperbilirubinemia. And what is jaundice? When clinically the plasma bilirubin is greater than 3 milligram per deciliter, we call it as jaundice. Okay, actually what do you mean by bilirubin and what is heme? Let's talk about that. Bilirubin is yellow compound that occurs in the normal catabolic pathway that breaks down heme. Okay, and where does this catabolic pathway takes place? It takes place in the spleen, where it takes place in the reticuloendothelial cells of spleen. To be more accurate, it takes place in the cord of Billroth. To some extent, the breakdown will also take place in the bone marrow and liver. Since heme is a main compound of hemoglobin, myoglobin, cytochrome and catalase, breakdown of all these compounds will lead to heme production. But the main reason is due to the hemoglobin that is present in the old RBCs. So now let's see what actually happens inside the spleen. The RBC is hemolyzed to hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin chain will be broken down to the globulin and heme. The globulin will then become amino acid and then it will be reused. Now let's focus on heme and what happens to heme. Heme, with the help of heme oxygenase enzyme, will be converted to iron and biliverdin. Remember, it's biliverdin. Iron and biliverdin. The iron liberated from the heme is reutilized, like it can be stored as hemosiderin or it can be released into the blood. Now let's see what happens to biliverdin. Biliverdin will be now converted to unconjugated bilirubin by biliverdin reductase. This unconjugated bilirubin can be also called as indirect bilirubin. Also remember that this unconjugated bilirubin is lipid soluble. That means it is less water soluble. Okay, now when the unconjugated bilirubin is released into the blood, it will be taken up by the albumin. That means now the unconjugated bilirubin is carried out by the albumin in plasma. The unconjugated bilirubin bounded with the albumin binds with the ligandin. This is ligandin, this green one, present on the surface of hepatocytes. So right now the unconjugated bilirubin entered into the hepatocyte. Now it will be conjugated. Now the unconjugated bilirubin is conjugated by UDP glucuronide transferase. UDP glucuronide transferase. Now the conjugation process takes place. So the conjugated bilirubin now becomes water soluble. Also, this conjugated bilirubin can be also called as direct bilirubin. Here the unconjugated is lipid soluble and be also called as indirect bilirubin. Here the conjugated bilirubin is direct bilirubin and it is water soluble. The conjugated bilirubin now needs to be transported out from the hepatocytes to the biliary tracts. The conjugated bilirubin is transported out from the hepatocytes by MRP2 protein. MRP2 protein. MRP2 protein. What is MRP2? Multi drug resistant protein. So this MRP2 is actually transporting the conjugated bilirubin to the biliary canaliculi. Now the conjugated bilirubin reaches the biliary canaliculi. Then it's been transported by hepatic ducts and finally it will be reaching to the intestine. Now the conjugated bilirubin will be acted up by the bacteria. That means the gut bacteria. So it will be converted to urobilinogen. The urobilinogen will be then further converted to stercobilinogen. Almost 80 to 90% of urobilinogen will be converted to stercobilinogen. And this stercobilinogen will give stool the yellow color. And the remaining 5 to 10% of urobilinogen will be taken back by the liver, and if something is remaining it will be excreted in the kidney. Now let's see the types of jaundice. Mainly we have three types of jaundice: prehepatic, hepatic and post-hepatic jaundice. Whatever happens to the bilirubin at the level of liver, we can call it as hepatic jaundice. And whatever happens to bilirubin before reaching to liver, it can be called as prehepatic bilirubin. And obviously, if something happens to bilirubin after leaving the liver, it can be called as post-hepatic . It can be called as post-hepatic jaundice. Now let's see in detail what this prehepatic, hepatic and post-hepatic means. Prehepatic jaundice can also be called as hemolytic jaundice. Why it is called hemolytic jaundice? Because this happens due to the massive lysis of RBC. So it can be also called as hemolytic jaundice. This overproduction may overload the liver with unconjugated bilirubin. So this unconjugated bilirubin can spill out to the blood. So in blood, the unconjugated bilirubin increases. Okay. Before that, let's say a few conditions where hemolytic jaundice occur, sickle cell anemia, G6PD deficiency, malaria, etc. There are many. So we had seen what happens to blood in case of prehepatic jaundice. Unconjugated bilirubin increases. What happens to urine? Here, the urobilinogen will be increased. Urobilinogen will be increased. But the color of urine will be normal. Why? Because urobilinogen is not the substance which gives color to urine. Okay, let's come and discuss stool. About stool, since more conjugation is happening inside the liver, more conjugated bilirubin reaches the intestine. So it will be converted to stercobilinogen in more amount. So the stool will be hyperpigmented. That means the stool will be dark in color. Dark stool. Why it is dark? Due to increased stercobilinogen. Now let's see what is hepatic jaundice. Since it happens due to the damage of liver or due to some enzyme defect, the conjugation process will not be taking place properly or efficiently. Even if the conjugation is taking place, the little formed bilirubin is not even able to secrete it into the biliary tract. So what happens? Inside the liver, unconjugated bilirubin will be increased, or if it is conjugated, the conjugated bilirubin can also be increased. This will lead to increased unconjugated bilirubin and also conjugated bilirubin in blood. In blood, now the conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin can be increased in hepatic jaundice. What happens in urine? Due to overloading in the liver, the conjugated bilirubin can be spilled out to the blood, and this conjugated bilirubin will give dark yellow color to urine. Dark yellow color due to conjugated bilirubin. Okay. What happens to stool? The stool will be pale in color. Why it is pale? Because conjugation is not taking place efficiently, or even if it is taking place, it can't be excreted to the biliary tract. The stercobilinogen reaching the intestine will be decreased. Now the stool will be pale in color. So now let's move and discuss about post-hepatic jaundice. Here, it happens due to the obstruction of the biliary tract. If this biliary tract is obstructed due to any reason, maybe due to some tumor or maybe due to some gallstones, then the conjugated bilirubin won't be allowed to come to intestine, right? So here also the conjugated bilirubin will be overloaded in the liver, that can be spilled back into the blood. Okay, so in blood, conjugated bilirubin will be increased, and what happens in the urine? Urine color will be again dark yellow. What happens to stool? No stercobilinogen, so pale in color. Post-hepatic jaundice mainly occurs due to the obstruction in the biliary tract. So it can be also called as obstructive jaundice. Okay, we haven't talked about the hepatic jaundice. This happens due to hepatitis, maybe alcohol induced, maybe viral induced. In hepatitis, hepatic jaundice occur. There are few genetic conditions like Dubin-Johnson syndrome, Rotter's syndrome. So now let's discuss about those genetic conditions. There are two main sets of genetic condition. Those are unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. That means increase in unconjugated bilirubin in blood. Here we have Crigler-Najjar syndrome, CNS1 and CNS2. Type 1, that means the type 1 and type 2. Also we have Gilbert syndrome. The cause of all these genetic defects are decrease in UGT. What is UGT? We have already discussed about UGT, that is UDP glucuronide transferase. If UGT is decreased, unconjugated bilirubin will be overloaded in the liver, can be spilled back into the blood. So here unconjugated bilirubin will be increased in the blood. So how we can differentiate Crigler-Najjar syndrome type 1, type 2 and Gilbert syndrome? CNS type 1 is the most dangerous. This will be severe deficiency of UGT. Severe deficiency. And type 2 will be moderate decrease in UGT. And in Gilbert syndrome, it will be a mild decrease. A mild decrease of UGT. So this is how we can differentiate. So now let's see the conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. This means increase in conjugated bilirubin in blood. We have already talked how it is increased. We have two conditions, Dubin-Johnson syndrome and Rotor syndrome. In Dubin-Johnson syndrome and Rotor syndrome, what actually happens is, here the transportation of conjugated bilirubin will be obstructed in some or the other way. If this MRP2 protein is defective, what happens? Transportation of conjugated bilirubin from the hepatocytes to biliary canaliculi will be destroyed. That is what we call Dubin-Johnson syndrome. Here the MRP2 protein will be defective. Unconjugated bilirubin will be increased in the liver and also increased in the blood. Also, it is called the black liver. Why it is called black liver? Because epinephrine metabolites will be accumulating in the liver, so it will be turned black in color. Now let's discuss few things about Rotor syndrome. The Rotor syndrome is different from Dubin-Johnson syndrome. Here the liver looks normal. No deposition of epinephrine metabolite. To be frank, it is due to the defect in the storage and transportation of bilirubin inside the hepatocyte. Then also the conjugated bilirubin is not released into the intestine or the biliary tract. The conjugated bilirubin will be increased in the liver. It can be spilled back into the blood. This is actually what happens in all this genetic condition. All these Crigler-Najjar syndrome, Gilbert syndrome, Dubin-Johnson syndrome and Rotor syndrome, all these are autosomal. All these are autosomal recessive diseases, right? Autosomal recessive diseases. Let's recap. Jaundice definition, normal value of bilirubin in blood, where this heme metabolism takes place, what are the main enzymes present in bilirubin metabolism, what happens inside the liver, what gives color to stool, few genetic conditions, and the classification of jaundice. Thank you for your attention. Bye until we see next time.